All right. So I want to say welcome to our viewers as Glenn and I continue on our series, Financial Dream Building. And if you're joining us for the first time, Glenn is a financial advisor from Griffiths Insurance and Financial Services. Glenn, thanks for joining me again this week.
Pleasure, and thank you.
And I know for you, you can continue this discussion week after week after week.
You know what? I love what I do. I love helping to educate people and having them find ways to save money and do that for their families.
Of course, and that's important, right? And today we want to talk specifically about purchasing a house and keeping it. And a lot of persons will dream of having their own house and have a place to call their own home. But you know, Glenn, what I found from my experience, most people dream of owning a home, right? And I'd like to find out from you, if you can think back, what are some of the questions like your clients ask you when they're going to buy a house?
When typically it comes down to the insurance part of it, but I like to have discussions with them. I like to ask them questions. First thing I ask them is, do you have a mortgage broker lined up? And sometimes it's no. We're not ready yet. We'll call them when we're ready. I'm like, no, no, no. You're going to call them right away. Because understand, like myself, a mortgage broker is there to help you with the process. Okay. You may feel you're ready, or you may not know, but they will help you get ready to make yourself the best fit for the lenders that are out there, right? So give them some lead time if you haven't decided yet, and they can tell you what to do, what to clean up, and how to get better ready to be a better match for loans.
Okay, well, that's good advice. And and you know, a lot of people they'll go out, they'll buy the house. Some will use a mortgage broker, some won't, just because of inexperience, you know, that you don't know what you don't know. So when your clients come back to you, those who have bought their house already, do you find some of them saying to you, and what are they asking that they wish they knew before they bought the house? What would they like to know? Would have liked to know?
It's almost always the additional cost they didn't think of, right? And that
Right.
can range from something like a lawnmower, especially if you're coming from an apartment. Um, it can be things like that. It could be, okay, I didn't realize how expensive it was to fix a dryer, right? Maybe our garage door isn't working. That's happened to us.
Mhm.
Just different things like that that they don't realize, especially in the early years. If you're coming from an apartment, you might have paid for electricity, but you're not paying typically for water and sewer, and that can be its own surprise, as well as paying for gas, especially if it's a little bit of an older house and it's in the winter months. You could be looking at $400 more in utilities, 400 to 600 more in utilities than you're used to. And in a lot of cases, that's not something that was planned on, because the excitement of the new house, and we're wasting money renting, we could be paying ourselves.
Mhm.
So that 12 or 1400 we're spending in renting all of a sudden becomes a starting point. And the
Right.
reality is about 2200. And we didn't count on that. We might have thought up to 15, because we haven't talked about property tax, which call it $300 a month, and insurance for fire and water damage that you have to have. And then in my area, the stuff you should have that they make optional, the life
Mhm.
insurance and disability and critical illness. So you can hold on to your dream property when you start having nightmares in life and health, right? So those are the things that are generally surprising.
Okay. And you know, it can be a big shock for some people. You know, you move from being a renter to a homeowner, you know, and the responsibility, the financial responsibilities that you have now as a homeowner, because now you can't call the landlord anymore. Now you are the landlord, right? And because of all these financial responsibility, because they've increased so much, the rate of foreclosure has increased quite a bit. And I would like to ask you, as a financial advisor, Glenn, what are some suggestions you'd give to your clients to prevent foreclosure, especially in a time like this?
It's part of the beginning as well. I find that family members and friends and clients, when they're thinking of buying a place, they want as big a down payment as they can. And I get the reasoning behind that. You want to pay this thing off as quick as possible. You want to pay as low interest and have as low a monthly payment as possible. But let's use an example. Say you're going to put down $40,000, right? and you really only needed to put down, say, 25. Okay. The 40 would feel better because maybe you pay an extra $100 less per month, but it's not necessarily the best planning. If you do that and things start going wrong, I don't know, you lose a job, we have crazy things like COVID happening that nobody saw coming. You have to take a job with less income, or something else happens, things start breaking, furnaces and all this. You realize quickly that you are in need of cash. Now that extra $100 a month that you're saving, or you thought you were saving, if you have to go to one of those third-party lenders, right, that charge 20% per month or whatever, are you going to be paying more than $100 to get a hold of 15 grand? By far, right? You could be paying $300-400 a month in interest.
Yes.
For that kind of money. So the fear that you have is now been realized to become a nightmare, because you still have to use that money, and now you're going to pay more to use it and have an extra payment that you have to make as well. So even though it feels better to just dump as much as you can, I caution my clients, I'm like, do a holdback. New furnace, hot water heater, or just life. You're off work and income stops. You want to have some cash, especially if you already saved this money. You want to have some holdback. You also have the opportunity to, if it's your first time buying, or depending on if it's been a few years, and we can chat more about that offline, you may be able to use a home buyer's plan. If you got some RSPs, it's one of two ways you can borrow money out of your RSPs, put a down payment, and each person on the mortgage can do that. Now, some clients like it when I explain it, some love it, and there are some that say, no, I don't want to do that. But you know what? I let them know the opportunity so they can actually make a more informed decision, right? Or maybe they've got a lump sum and they're about to buy and they don't have any RSPs and they've got RSP room. Could you dump 20 grand in an RSP? It just needs to be there for 90 days before you can access it for your down payment. So what's the effect of that if you've been working? Well, you dump 20 in, you're likely going to have at least 6 grand in a return. So closing costs, moving costs, maybe some new furniture, you can get the government to fund that while you're going into your new house. So there's a bunch of different things you can do. And if they come to me early enough and we chat, I can make suggestions on, and then they decide what makes the most sense for them.
Awesome. And it's funny that you've answered my next question as well, because I was going to ask, what if I had a small amount of money? Should I use up to my last dollar to make that down payment? And why not? Or why, So, you've answered that question for me. And I'm sure a lot of people out there wanted to know that question too, right? So thanks so much for answering that. And, this time that we have really won't cover everything that people needs to know when dreaming of owning their house. But I'd like to ask, do you have any last comments that you'd like to leave? Any advice or anything you want to leave for the
last comments sound so final? Well, yes, because we haven't talked about my main area yet, insurance. We haven't talked about that yet. Now, your house is probably your biggest dream that you've had. It's probably what you worked and saved the hardest for. You want to make sure you put yourself and those you love in a position to hold on to it. You need insurance. It's not mandatory, but you need insurance, right? You're going to want life insurance because, let's face it, whether you're single, let's say you're single, you're still going to want somebody to get that stuff instead of the government. So whoever you're going to leave it to, at least this makes it easier for them and it puts them in a better position. If you've got a family, spouse and kids, right? Understand that being in that new house, new neighborhood, possibly new school, likely if the kids are of school age, if you go, and whether you're the main breadwinner, the only breadwinner, or you're contributing, if you're a stay-at-home parent, I don't care, because that's a contribution that allows the other parent to do what they do to provide for the family. If you're no longer there, the family suffers, right? So they're going to suffer somewhat financially or hugely financially. What if they lose that house? They've lost the parent, they lose the stability of the house, they lose the friends in the neighborhood because you're not going to see them as often, right? They might lose activities they're in, right? They lose the school. That's a whole lot of losses, compounded losses, and nobody planned on or really chose, but by default of you not putting the proper insurance in place, you made that choice for your family, right? So that unplanned schedule of losses, I talk to my clients about all the time and go, do it and do it right. Nobody gets to see that. You don't get to invite people over and go, look at the insurance coverage I did to make sure we keep this, right? It's not as fun as showing your house, but it's what matters in keeping your dream going long-term for yourself and your family. And the critical illness, I tell them that's selfish insurance. And they look at me and go, what do you mean? Well, it means stuff has gone really wrong, but you're still around. So you get to collect that, right? You get to collect that. Some of us, if we've got bills to pay and we've got either a bad injury or if it's something like cancer, could you see people forcing themselves back to work before they should and making things worse or prolonging something? Yeah, because you need to pay your bills. What if you get a load off your mind that says 1 year's worth of salary just walked in the door tax-free? Let me concentrate on getting better. And then I can worry about that stuff later because I've got the bills upfront covered and any modifications I may need to make. Maybe I need a nurse to come in depending on how bad it was, right? Maybe I need a hospital bed as a family member of mine did in the living room instead of upstairs. You know, maybe I need respite care because the family's been watching me round the clock and they need a break too, and we can hire a nurse to come in for a few hours every so often to give them a break, right? It's things like that. Maybe I need to eat cleaner foods, and cleaner foods cost more money because my body is really sensitive right now, right? But if you don't put yourself in the position by having the proper insurance in place, a lot of that goes out the window. And let's face it, Genese, no matter what illness we have, stress does not help the situation.
That's
right?
true. That's
So
true.
those are the things I talk to my clients about. Let's do it the right way, not just the fun way that we can show to everybody else, right? And quite frankly, if things go badly and you're still around, i.e. something like life-threatening cancer, people are going, how are you managing? Do you need help? If you can say, you know what, no, on that end, we're good. Let me just fight. We got to fight this battle, but I don't have to fight the financial battle as well.
Right. Yeah.
You know, so great peace of mind for a family, and definitely helps if it helps the other spouse stay home so they don't work and stress at the same time and not help the situation. At least it gives you choices.
Yeah. Well, very well said, Glenn. So folks, there you have it. I mean, this is just pretty much what I call the appetizer. It's just a conversation starter. So, I mean, if you're dreaming of purchasing a house, just make that appointment with your financial advisor and your mortgage broker early. You know, early is so important. So if you don't have a financial advisor, I'm sure Glenn would be more than happy to have that talk with you and just go through some strategies with you. Call him, right? Check the description below and just book your call with Glenn. And if you found this information useful, feel free to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you have not already done so. Thanks so much for watching and continue to build your dreams.
Keep on building those dreams for longevity.
Exactly.
Definitely.
Bye for now.